Hey, greetings. Michael DDA here. We're continuing our adventure in Torah. Last week, we did Deuteronomy 7, 8, and 9. Today, we're going to pick up at 11 and at least get 2 chapters done, maybe 3. We'll see what happens. I want to do a quick review of what we talked about last week. We've just got to understand who it is that Yehovah speaks with through Moses. Obviously to Moses, but who is he actually speaking to? In Deuteronomy, we see many times where it talks about Yehovah, your Elohim, Yehovah, thy Elohim, Yehovah, our Elohim, sometimes when Moses wants to include himself. We've got to see this. And our verse 6 is a really good example of what it is we're talking about. Here Yehovah says, for you are a holy people to Yehovah, your Elohim. A holy people, we tend to want to make it all the people who are included in Israel. And it is. But the problem is we don't know who Israel is. This helps us to see it a little better. We have seen this all through Deuteronomy. We've seen it all through Torah. Yehovah speaks to his spiritually born men. Here he says, for you are a holy people to Yehovah your Elohim. Yehovah, your Elohim, repeats himself twice, has chosen you to be his people for himself. Same thing, he's just saying it differently. A special treasure, a segula, above all the people on the face of the earth. It's so easy, especially these days, for a woman to say that she is part of that people. But how are we part of that people? We've got to understand. There's more for us to see. This is the second time this has been repeated like this. We saw it here in Exodus 19. Look what it says here. Now, therefore, if you will indeed obey my voice, keep my covenant, which then you shall be a segula, a special treasure to me above all people. For all the earth is mine, and you shall be to me a kingdom of priests. Okay, there is a context clue. Which people are we talking to? It's not lady people, because there are no lady priests, are there? But he goes on, and a holy nation. These are the words which you shall speak to, look what it says, Israel's seed. Of course, in the New King James, and in many Bibles, probably most Bibles, it says the children of Israel. Some are a little better. They say the sons of Israel, but they don't know who the sons are. That would make them, they want to make it all the men of Israel, but that's not correct. We're talking about the Ezrach, the spiritually born men of Israel. Let me continue. I don't want to make this thing last too long. Then it shall come to pass, because thou listened to these judgments, and keep and do them, that Yehovah thy Elohim will keep with thee the covenant and the kindness which he swore to thy fathers. And he will love thee and bless thee and multiply thee. He will also bless the fruit of thy womb. We have a womb if we are married. I have a womb. And the fruit of thy land, thy grain, thine arise. Remember, whose land are we talking about? The men get the land. We're talking about Ezrach men, Israel's seed, the spiritually born men. He goes on, I will multiply your new wine, your oil, the increase of your cattle, the offspring of your flocks in the land which he swore to thy fathers to give thee. You shall be blessed above all peoples. There shall be no male or female barren among you, or among your livestock. And Yehovah will take away from thee all sickness and will afflict thee with none of the diseases, none of Egypt's diseases which thou hast known, but will lay them on those who hate thee. Oh my goodness. These are promises that Yehovah has for us. Let's go to the next chapter. This says, after you have eaten and are full, I like to have kind of an overall synopsis for each chapter, and I kind of do that through Genesis through Deuteronomy. I do it for some of the prophets as well. Helps me remember it. I try to memorize these if I can. I want to go down to 8. Look what he says here. Is that what I was saying? Yeah. He says, therefore you shall keep the commandments of Yehovah thy Elohim, to walk in all his ways and to fear him. For Yehovah thy Elohim is bringing you into a land of brooks, of water, of fountains, of springs that flow out of the valley and the hills, a land of wheat and barley, of vines and fig trees, and pomegranates, a land of olive oil and honey. Does that sound like a great land? He says, a land in which you will eat without scarcity, which you will lack for nothing. A land whose stones are iron, and out of whose hills you will dig copper. When you have eaten and are full, then you shall bless Yehovah your Elohim. You know, I used to think, I said it last week, I used to think that this was about prayer, praying after you eat, not before you eat. No, this is not about prayer. This is about experiencing the abundance which Yehovah is going to give us and remaining thankful. Don't think that you did it on your own. Look, it goes on to say that. Beware that you do not forget Yehovah thy Elohim by not keeping his commandments, his judgments, his statutes. I love that so much, which I command thee today, lest when you have eaten and are full, you've tasted all the good things that Yehovah has given to you: houses, land, barns, flocks, herds, all the good stuff, and have built beautiful houses and dwell in them. And when your herds and your flocks multiply, and your silver and gold are multiplied, and all that you have is multiplied, when your heart is lifted up and you forget Yehovah your Elohim, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, from the house of bondage. Don't forget. After you have eaten and are full, then thank Yehovah for the good land which he has given thee. Again, the men get the land. The ladies get to taste it. Bone of our bone, flesh of our flesh. Our male and female servants partake in the land as well. But it's Israel's seed's land. Make yourself Israel's seed before it's too late. Well, he goes on to the next chapter. This is the last chapter that we covered. I call it A Short History of a Stiff-Necked People. Look at how it starts. Hear, O Israel, the day thou crossest over the Jordan, to go and dispossess nations greater and mightier than these, cities fortified to the skies. They said today. It's not today, it's the day that you do this. We're going to take, he says, a people great and tall, Anakim's seed, whom you know, these are the giants in the land. We're going to defeat the giants in the land. Do we have giants in our land? He says, therefore understand today that Yehovah, thy Elohim, is he who goes before thee as a consuming fire. We're going to rout our enemies and destroy them. Ooh, people don't want to hear this. It is not because of your righteousness when you beat them. Again, it's not because of our righteousness. What does he say? It's not because of your righteousness or the uprightness of your heart that you go to possess this land. It's because of this, because of the wickedness of these nations, that Yehovah thy Elohim drives them out from before you, thee, and that he may fulfill the word which Yehovah swore to thy fathers, to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Spiritually born men, we, the Ezrach men of today, are the spiritual seed of these men, the same men that Yehovah made these promises to. He's going to fulfill his word. Ooh, can you imagine what it's going to be like to live in this land? We're going to see how great it is today, I think in the next chapter. Remember, he's still talking about the stiff-necked people. Then Yehovah delivered to me the 2 tablets of stone, giving a short history of these guys, written with Elohim's finger, and on them all the words which Yehovah had spoken to thee, you, y'all, on the mountain in the midst of the fire in the day of the assembly. Then Yehovah said to me, arise, go down from here, for your people whom Yehovah brought out of Egypt have acted corruptly. They have quickly turned aside from the way which I commanded them, and they have made themselves molded images. This is Yehovah speaking. Thy people, which thou brought out of the land of Egypt, have acted corruptly. He's not even taking responsibility for them. He's so upset with them. But look what Moses does. He's going to fall down on his face. Thus I prostrated myself before Yehovah 40 days and 40 nights. I kept prostrating myself because Yehovah had said he would destroy you. He's pleading to Yehovah. Remember, he actually starts in verse 26. Therefore I prayed to Yehovah and said, I said, my master Yehovah, do not destroy thy people and thy inheritance, whom thou redeemed through thy greatness, whom thou have brought out of Egypt with a mighty hand. Remember thy servants, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. He says, look not unto the people's stubbornness, and not on his wickedness. This says their wickedness. That's not what it says. It says his wickedness. Nor on his sin, his transgression. Talking about the plural he, Israel. Thy son. Don't forget thy son. Yet they are thy people and thy inheritance, whom thou hast brought out by thy mighty power and by thy outstretched hand. This is where we're picking up today. He says, at that time, Yehovah said to me, hew for thyself 2 tablets of stone like the first, and come up to me on the mountain and make thyself an ark of wood. You know, we got to remember, he's still talking about what has happened in the past. That's pretty much what he's been doing for all these chapters. There's not anything new. He's just re-explaining some of the things that we've seen before. Make thyself an ark of wood. We haven't even made the tabernacle. Remember, the very first thing we made was the ark with the mercy seats. We built the tabernacle essentially from the inside out. I thought that was interesting. We build Yehovah in us from the inside out. It starts with our heart, our lavav, that thing that only Yehovah understands. Look at this. Hew for thyself 2 tablets of stone. What? The first set of tablets, Yehovah cut. He wrote on them. But now, he's asking Moses to provide the 2 tablets of stone, like the first. And come up to me on the mountain and make thyself an ark of wood. This is the first covenant. The first covenant is the one that Yehovah cut. But we have a renewed covenant also. Let me read you my notes. This is Exodus 32, 15 through 16. And Moses turned and went down from the mountain, and the 2 tablets of the testimony were in his hand. The tablets were written on both sides, and on one side and on the other they were written. Now the tablets were the work of Elohim, and the writing was the writing of Elohim engraved on the tablets. I put this is the first set written on both sides. But now, remember, we sinned. We broke the covenant. Now Yehovah is having us write these tablets. Again, only we're providing the tablets for Yehovah to write on. Remember, this is right after the golden calf incident. He's still talking about it. I came down from the mountain. Your people have sinned. He broke the tablets. Fell on his face. For Israel, it said 40 days. I think this is the 40 days starting when he goes back up the mountain that he's going to prostrate himself. He says, I prayed for you 40 days and 40 nights without food and water. Second covenant. Look what it says here. Actually, this might even be, no, this is still 34 Exodus. And Yehovah said to Moses, cut 2 tablets of stone like the first ones. Remember, this is reiterating what we've already seen. Like the first ones. And I will write on these tablets the words that were on the first tablets, which you broke. So be ready in the morning and come up in the morning to Mount Sinai and present thyself to me. He's talking to Moses. There on the top of the mountain, and no man shall come up with thee. And let no man be seen throughout all the mountain. Let neither flock nor herd feed before the mountain. So he cut 2 tablets of stone like the first. Then Yehovah rose early in the morning and went up to Mount Sinai. And as Yehovah had commanded him, and he took in his hand the 2 tablets of stone. Moses, returning with the hand-carved empty tablets of stone, is a very significant shadow picture for us. We should note the emphasis upon the fact that Moses breaks the first tablets. Moses breaks them. The first tablets, we were told, were the work of Yehovah. Look what it says. And he gave unto Moses, when he had made an end of the communing with him upon Mount Sinai, 2 tablets of testimony, tablets of stone written with the finger of Elohim. And the tablets were the work of Elohim, and the writing was the writing of Elohim graven upon the tablets. It says the first tablets, representing the covenant, were the work of Yehovah and were given to Israel's seed. The second tablets are the work of Moses and are brought with him up the mountain so that Yehovah can write on them. Here we see a shadow picture of the first covenant and the renewed covenant. Oh, this is so good, you guys. You know, we've got to look for these shadow pictures. They really help us see things that we wouldn't ordinarily see. Look at what it says here in Jeremiah 31 through 33. Behold, the days are coming, says Yehovah, when I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel, Israel's house, and Judah's house. Not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day I took them by the hand and led them out of the land of Egypt, my covenant which they broke, though I was a husband to them. He's talking about his bride, Israel. Also his son, Israel. We got to understand the shadow pictures in here. Don't get stuck on them. The only one that's a groom in Torah is Yehovah, not Yeshua. Yeshua is the bride, like me, like all his Ezra men. My covenant which they broke, though I was a husband to them, says Yehovah. But this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel, Israel's house, after those days, says Yehovah. I will put my Torah in their minds. I will write it on their hearts, and I will be their Elohim, and they shall be my people. Do you hear what's going on here? We present our heart to Yehovah, and he writes it on our minds and writes it on our hearts. Let us take careful note of the marriage imagery. Remember, marriage is not even a word in Torah. He Baals his son. Usually that's the word that gets translated as marriage, Baal. Yehovah describes himself as a husband, a Baal, to Israel. Yehovah likewise makes specific reference to the fact that he led Israel out of the land of Egypt. The covenant being discussed in this prophecy is clearly the Sinai covenant. Let us also note that Yehovah clearly indicts Israel's seed for breaking the covenant. But he does not forsake Israel's seed. Instead, Yehovah makes a new covenant with them. The word translated in this passage as new, this is the passage that we just read right here. I will make a new covenant. There it is at the top. Behold, the days are coming, says Yehovah, that I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel. Instead, Yehovah makes a new covenant with them. The word translated in this passage as new is the Hebrew word kadash. Het, dalet, shin, which has the same root as the word kadosh, which is translated as month. The word kadesh, month, is reference to the cycle of the moon, which indicates a month. Kadesh, therefore, does not mean new in the sense of something brand new. See, this is what the Christians do. They want to say, this is a new covenant, but they don't understand we're talking about a renewed covenant, same Torah written in our hearts. Kadesh, therefore, does not mean new in a sense of something brand new that has never existed before. Rather, it means a cycle or renewal of something. In other words, we should understand the above passage to read, behold, the days are coming, says Yehovah, that I will make with Israel's house and with the house of Judah, Judah's house, a renewed covenant. This is what we're talking about. The sovereign one is not making a completely different covenant with the house of Israel and the house of Judah or anyone else. Instead, Yehovah is renewing the previous covenant which Israel broke in spite of all Yehovah had done for them. Moses went up to the mountain the first time empty-handed. The tablets he wrote down were completely the work of Yehovah. These two tablets represent the first covenant, which was completely independent of Israel's seed and outside of them. They didn't have anything to do with it. In this regard, the covenant was something imposed from outside of Israel's seed. It is clear that Israel's seed never fully embraced the covenant. Well, they didn't. It was given to them. But it's not going to be that way the second time. But this time Moses goes up the mountain. Yehovah instructs him to bring stone tablets with him. These stone tablets are the symbol of the tablets of our hearts. Yes. Yehovah then proceeds to write the same words upon these second tablets as he did on the first. And Yehovah said to Moses, I just read that. Note, the context of the first covenant and the renewed covenant is exactly the same. The same thing was written upon the first tablet as was written on the second tablet. The only difference between the first covenant and the renewed covenant is the location. Oh, isn't that beautiful? If the second set of tablets represents a believer, a man, coming to Yehovah with the tablets of his heart, then we should understand that the same thing that was written on the first stone tablets is now being written on the tablets of the heart. Yes, yes, yes. Well, that's the same verse that we read there. Then I will sprinkle clean water on you, and you shall be clean. I will cleanse you from all your filthiness, from all your idols. I will give you a new heart and put a new spirit within you. Remember, he's talking about putting them in our minds and writing them on our hearts. I will take the heart of stone out of your flesh and give you a heart of flesh. Really, I probably should be writing these as thee. I will put my spirit within thee and cause thee to walk in my statutes, and thou wilt keep my judgments and do them. This is all about writing it in his heart. After Moses presented the tablets to Yehovah, the sovereign one writes upon them the very heart of the covenant. Here's the last portion I had here. Let us understand this imagery clearly. As believers, we, men, are to come to Yehovah with empty tablets of our heart in order that Yehovah may write his covenant upon them. You know what? This happens over a long period of time. This is not something that happens like this. We repent and come to him saying, Father, I've followed other Elohim, other lawmakers and judges. Forgive me. I didn't understand that I was supposed to follow you. I'm repenting now. I'm leaving the kingdom of my birth. Take my heart and write your Torah on it, and I'll follow. When you do that, that's a quick change. But until you do that, it's lip service. It's got to come with actions. Keeping a few of Yehovah's commandments isn't what he's asking for. He wants you, men. He wants us. When we do that, we will become a ger. And then at Passover, we're going to continue following Yehovah's commandments, statutes, and judgments. And we're going to bring our offering, Yehovah's offering, to him at Passover and become Ezra men. This is how we become his people. This is how we enter into the promise that he has for us. And when we enter in, our women come in with us. Bone of our bone, flesh of our flesh. Well, this was the first verse of chapter 10. Let's continue. And I will write on the tablets the words that were on the first tablet, second set of tablets, which you broke, and you shall put them in the ark. This happened early. This is right after, he gave us the commandments. he went up for 40 days and 40 nights. And it was during that first 40 days and 40 nights, remember we just got to Mount Sinai, that the men made this molded image. Wow, we turned from him so quickly. So I made an ark of acacia wood, hewed 2 tablets of stone like the first, and went up the mountain having the 2 tablets in my hand. And he wrote on the tablets according to the first writings, the 10 commandments which Yehovah had spoken to you in the mountain, from the midst of the fire in the day of the assembly. Remember, it was just Israel's seed who went up to the mountain at that point. It was Israel's seed who they spoke with. He said, don't come near a woman for 3 days in preparation for us coming up there. Then I turned and came down from the mountain and put the tablets in the ark, which I had made. And there they are, just as Yehovah commanded me. There they are. Now look what it says. Now Israel's seed journeyed from the wells of Bene Jaakan to Mazarah, where Aaron died. Does this put up any flags for anybody? Where did Aaron die? Do you remember? This is important that we look these things up. Verify, 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 especially when you're looking in Deuteronomy. You've got to check everything out. I put this section, Deuteronomy 6 through 9, reads like perverted commentary. I'm sorry. You know what? It's not right. It's not accurate. Look at this. Here is Numbers 20, 23 through 28. Let's just go there and read it there. 23 through 28. And Yehovah spoke to Moses and Aaron on Mount Hor, by the border of the land of Edom, saying, Aaron shall be gathered to his people, for he shall not enter into land which I have given Israel's seed, because you rebelled against my word at the waters of Meribah. Take Aaron and Eleazar his son, and bring them up to Mount Hor. And strip Aaron with his garments, and put them on Eleazar his son, for Aaron shall be gathered to his people, and die there. So Moses did just as Yehovah commanded, and they went up to Mount Hor in the sight of the congregation. Mount Hor, Mount Hor, Mount Hor. Moses stripped Aaron of his garments and put them on Eleazar his son, and Aaron died there on the top of the mountain. Then Moses and Eleazar came down from the mountain. Here's another one. Then Aaron, the priest, went up to Mount Hor at the command of Yehovah, and died there in the 40th year after Israel's seed had come out of the land of Egypt, on the first day of the 5th month. Mount Hor, Mount Hor. Here it says Bene Jaakan. But it goes on. It's still bad. We went to Mazarah to Bene Jaakan. This says we went from Bene Jaakan to Mazarah. They got it backwards. Here it says in Numbers, and they went from Ha-Shemah and camped at Mazarah. And they departed Mazarah and camped at Bene Jaakan. 10:7, next verse. Then it says we went from Mazarah to Gu-Godah, and from Gu-Godah to Japatah, the land of rivers and waters. But look what it says here. This is Numbers. It says, then they moved from Bene Jaakan and camped at Hor Hagagad. Same word, just they write it differently. We went from Hor Hagagad and camped at Jabatah. So we've got confusion. So this says they journeyed from Mazarah to Gogadah. I know that's the spelling, it makes it really hard to understand. Let me see if there's more here. At that time, Yehovah separated the tribe of Levi to bear the ark of the covenant of Yehovah. At that time, Numbers says Levi received, so look at this. We're traveling. We've already left Mount Sinai, Horeb. We're in the wilderness. But it says we went from these places. This is all in the 40th year. Moses died, or Aaron died in the 40th year. But now, it says at that time, Yehovah separated Levi to bear the ark of the covenant of Yehovah. No, he didn't. He did that at the end of the second year that we came out of Egypt. Just before we left in the second month on the 20th day. How come it's saying that he's doing it now to Levi? At that time, Yehovah separated the tribe of Levi to bear the Ark of the Covenant. No, he didn't. Numbers 1 says, and Yehovah spoke to Moses in the wilderness of Sinai in the tabernacle meeting on the first day of the second month in the second year after they came out of Egypt. It's then that he's going to give, Numbers 3 and 4, the Levites all of their duties. When did it happen? First day, second month, second year, not 40th year. You know what? Take this into consideration as we read more and see more in Deuteronomy. I love Deuteronomy. I love much of Deuteronomy, but there's some things in Deuteronomy that just are not correct. How do they get there? I don't know. I don't like it. At that time, this is the perversion. At that time, Yehovah separated the tribe of Levi to bear the Ark of the Covenant, to stand before Yehovah, to minister to him, and to bless his name to this day. No, he didn't do it then. He did it back in Horeb 40 years earlier, 38 years earlier, 39 years earlier. Oh, yeah. This happened way before Aaron died, 38 plus years before. Close to 39. Not quite 39, but close to 39. 3 talks about the camping positions, and 4 talks about the carrying things that they're going to carry. Leviticus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 talks about all the things that Levi's going to do. That was all given to us it may have been given to us before the tabernacle was even put together, which would make it clearly more than 39 years. Oh my, so much to see. We've got to learn the order of appearance for these things. He goes on. Therefore, Levi has no portion nor inheritance with his brethren. And Yehovah is his inheritance, just as Yehovah, thy Elohim, promised him. That's good. That's right. It says at that time, I stayed on the mountain 40 days and 40 nights. Yehovah also heard me at that time, and Yehovah chose not to destroy you. Is he saying that after he gave the Levites their responsibilities, that he went to the mountain a second time? No, that happened later too. There's so much. At that time. What is Yehovah saying? Therefore, both of these, at that time. At what time? At the time that this happened? What time are we talking about? 10, 11. Then Yehovah said to me, arise, begin thy journey before the people. He's talking to Moses. That they may go in and possess the land which I swore to their fathers to give to them. This is what I said, second month, or second year, second month, 20th day. And now, Israel, what does Yehovah, thy Elohim, this is thy Elohim, Israel, the plural he, thy Elohim, require of thee? But to fear Yehovah, thy Elohim, to walk in his ways, and to love him, to serve Yehovah, thy Elohim, with all thy heart and with all thy soul. I love this verse, Micah. He has shown thee, O man, what is good. This is Adam. I have shown thee, O man, what is good. And what does Yehovah require of thee? But to do justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with thy Elohim, not the Elohim of the land. This is what we're talking about. Keep the commandments of Yehovah. Fear Yehovah. Walk in his ways. Love him. Serve him with all your heart and with all thy soul, thy thoughts and emotions. And keep the commandments of Yehovah and his statutes, which I command thee for thy good. The second time we've seen for thy good. Indeed. This is interesting. It says heaven and the highest heavens. No, look at the words here. It's Shami and Shamim. Shami. They're both the same word. Shami and the heavens Shami. It's really saying the heavens Shami. And the heavens, heavens. The sky's sky. You could say it like that, because the heavens is where the birds fly. So when we talk about the heavens, heavens, the heavens, heavens, we're talking about that which is over the thing that is where the birds fly. Now we're talking about the sky. We're talking about the place where the moon and the stars are. Let me just show you this. This is just to demonstrate to you. We're talking about the sky. Here it's Shamim. Lofty, it says the sky. It talks about the earth. Haaretz. What do we say about the earth? Get out here. Indeed, heaven and the highest heavens belong to Yehovah. Also the earth, with all that is in it. Also the earth, with all that is in it. Second day of creation. Here's what it says. He created the firmament, the sky, divided the waters, and placed them above and below the firmament. The firmament he called, it says, heaven. It's Shamim. Now, in verse 20, just so we know what the Shamim is, it says, then Elohim said, let the waters abound with the abundance of living creatures, and let the birds fly above the earth across the face of the firmament of the heavens. The Shamim, that's where the birds fly. We're talking about the heavens. So we have the heavens, and we have the Shamim, which are above the heavens. The heavens, heavens. The sky's sky. I think that's neat to see things like this. Yehovah delighted only in your fathers to love them, and he chose their descendants, their Zerah, thy fathers, only in thy fathers. Yehovah delighted to love them, and he chose in their seed after them. You above all peoples, as it is this day. Their seed. Their seed. We're talking about men. This is just one of the many reasons why I like to use the word seed instead of sons when talking about B'nai Israel. We're talking about spiritually born descendants when we talk about B'nai Israel. Seeds, seeds, seeds. Generations of descendants. He starts, therefore circumcise the foreskin of your heart and be stiff-necked no longer. For Yehovah, look at this, for Yehovah, your Elohim, is the Elohim's Elohim. That's how we're going to read it. The Elohim's Elohim. You could write it the same way. He is Elohim of the Elohim. Is how you could write it. Yehovah, your Elohim, is Elohim of the Elohim. Oh, isn't that so interesting? The Elohim, all the Elohim. I put this little thing here because I wanted to have us understand possession. He is the Elohim's Elohim. How do you write Elohims? Remember, Elohims is a plural word already. So I can't say Elohims, it's Elohim is plural. So the only way I can show the plural is to put this possessive on here. The Elohim's Elohim. They don't like to acknowledge it. Most won't acknowledge it. But he is. Now he goes on to the same thing. And it says, Lord of lords. But it doesn't say that. It says, Lord of the lords. Or, as I wrote it, the master's master. The master's master. The Elohim's Elohim, the master's master. The great, that's the Gadol. The El. You know, you just can't see it. The great, El, mighty and awesome. No, the great. The El, the mighty, the terrible. The mighty, that's the powerful. And the terrible. And the terrible. They say awesome. Who shows no partiality nor takes a bribe. Who regards not a person nor takes reward. You know what? I was thinking this morning, I started learning Hebrew way back in 2011. I wrote a blog. 2011, that's 6 years ago that I've been learning Hebrew. Not on an everyday basis, but most day basis. I go back to the Hebrew. I want you to see something. This is a blog that I put together, like in 2014, saying that, starts like this, years ago, 2010, I realized that if I wanted to delve deeper into my understanding of Yehovah's word, I had to go back to the original Hebrew and learn Hebrew, original language, and learn Hebrew. I knew that those who create translations do so in the light of their own doctrines and traditions and with the need to sell their translation to a broad audience. You've got to dig deeper if you want to understand the truth. There's a wealth of knowledge that is available to us if we will go back and learn Yehovah's word. You know what? Do it piece by piece. I went through this on this thing here. It's got a dozen lessons. The first 12 lessons are an introduction to the Hebrew alphabet. I made flashcards. Then I learned the verbs the prefixes and the suffixes for the verbs, and the prefixes or the suffixes for the nouns. With those three things, you can begin your journey in Torah. I'm self-taught, but in a way I like that, because I look at the scriptures in light of what all the scriptures have to say. Not what my teacher has to say, because I know my teachers are going to tell me that B'nai Israel means the children of Israel. I don't want to learn that. I learned that already and found out I was wrong. We've got to get better information. Knowledge leads to understanding. Understanding leads to wisdom. And true wisdom is serving Yehovah holy. It's a process. But unless we learn the original language, we're stuck. We're stuck with what all the other people have to say. Even the dictionaries are wrong sometimes. We've got to look at them all. We've got to dig deeper. We've got to see more. Going back, he administers justice for a fatherless person. Doesn't say the fatherless, a fatherless person, a widow, and loves a stranger, giving to him food and clothing. That's us. He administers justice for a fatherless person. Doesn't say person, but a fatherless person, a fatherless one, I guess you could say. A widow, a ger, giving to him food and clothing. Then it says, therefore. No, it doesn't say therefore. It just simply says, ye shall love the ger. Ye shall love the ger. For you were gerim in the land of Egypt. Who's the ye that he's talking to? Okay, these are things that we have to go back to. Who is the ye? Ye are not the ger. The ye are Yehovah's Ezra men. Ye shall love the ger, for you were gerim in the land of Egypt. Okay, that tells us there's a process to becoming an Ezra man. You got to become a ger first. How do you become a ger? You got to leave the kingdom of your birth as a Gentile and join yourself to Yehovah's called out people. Those are the people that we're going to take care of. The fatherless, the ger who dwells with us. That's why we have a ger that dwells with us. Giving him food and clothing. Does that mean they don't do anything for their keep? Not at all. They're working within our gates. But first, we've got to have gates. We haven't got gates yet. Father, raise us up and give us our land. Please, do it soon. 20. Thou shalt fear Yehovah thy Elohim. Thou shalt serve him, and to him thou shalt hold fast and take oaths in his name. Thou shalt fear Yehovah thy Elohim. Him shalt thou serve. Not the kingdoms of these birth. Remember, Yehovah thy Elohim, lawmaker and judge. That's who we're talking about. Lawmakers and judges. Don't follow any others. Him thou shalt serve. And to him thou shalt cleave and swear by his name. He is thy praise, and he is thy Elohim, who has done for thee these great and terrible things, which thy eyes have seen. Thy fathers went down to Egypt, 70 persons. And now Yehovah, thy Elohim, has made thee as the stars of heaven in multitude. How many people did we have right now? 600,000 some odd men. Let's go to the next chapter, 11. Therefore thou shalt love Yehovah, thy Elohim, and keep his charge, his statutes, his judgments, commandments. His commandments. His charge, his commandments, his judgments. Not the ones of the land. Know today that I do not speak to thy sons, who have not known, who have not seen the chastening of Yehovah thy Elohim. I think he's now talking current time. Your sons haven't seen the chastening of Yehovah, many of them. But you have. You saw what I did when I brought him out of Egypt, because you guys were all 20 years old and younger. You saw it. Know they that I do not speak to your sons, who have not known and who have not seen the chastening of Yehovah, your Elohim, his greatness and his mighty hand and his outstretched arm, his signs and his acts, which he did in the midst of Egypt. Look what it says, to Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and all of his land. What he did to the army of Egypt for their horses and their chariots. I'm sorry, to their horses and to their chariots. How he made the waters of the Red Sea overflow them as they pursued you. And how Yehovah has destroyed them to this day. But now, again, you know what? This is why we've got to read it differently. Understand it in the context. This says what he did for you. Here we're just talking about which he did to the king of Pharaoh, to all his land, to the army. Now all of a sudden, it says for you? No. What he did to you in the wilderness until you came to this place. What did he do to us? What he did unto us. And what he did, there's the same word, to Dathan and Abiram, the sons of Eliab, Reuben's seed. Actually, it's the seed of Eliab, Reuben's seed. Double check that. What he did to Dathan and Abiram, Eliab's seed. Eliab ben Reuben's seed is actually what it says. How the earth opened its mouth and swallowed them up, their households, their tents, and all the substance that was in their possession in the midst of Israel. What he did to you, what he did to Dathan and Abiram. Now look at it in the context. It says, but. No, because. It says a reference to the previous or following context. Not but. Because or since. Remember, he's not talking to you. He's talking to you, not your sons. You saw it. You saw what he did to these people, to you, to Dathan and Abiram. Not to mention Korah. How come they didn't mention Korah? Since your eyes have seen every great act of Yehovah which he did. Since, because, therefore, you shall keep every commandment which I command you today, that you may be strong and go in and possess the land which you cross over to possess. If we will keep Yehovah's commandments, he will make us strong. Do you want to be strong? I'm talking strong, not strong. Look what it says here. He teaches my hands to make war. This is David. The men that Yehovah is raising up right now are going to be like David. They're going to be like Moses. Look what it says about David. He teaches my hands to make war so that my arms can bend a bronze bow. Do you want to be strong? You have also given me the shield of your salvation. Your gentleness has made me great. You enlarge my path under me, so my feet did not slip. I pursued my enemies and destroyed them. Neither did I turn back until they were destroyed, and have destroyed them and wounded them so that they could not rise. They have fallen under my feet, for you have armed me with strength for battle. You have subdued under me those who rose against me. You have also given me the necks of my enemies so that I destroyed those who hated me. Oh my goodness. Look at this one. I love this one here. This is Isaiah 40. Yeah, Isaiah 40. Have you not known? Have you not heard? The everlasting Elohim, Yehovah, the creator of the ends of the earth, neither faints nor is weary. His understanding is unsearchable. He gives power to the weak. I'm a weakling. I've no strength. And to those who have no might, he increases strength. Even the youths shall faint and be weary. He's talking about the strong men of the land, the guys who never get tired. And the young men shall utterly fall. Yeah, the strength of the people of the land, they're going to fall. But he goes on. But those who wait on Yehovah shall renew their strength. Will you wait on Yehovah? Will you become wholly his? Will you learn to keep every commandment I commanded you today, that you may be strong? They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. You know, we were talking about Joshua. He took over after Moses died. Joshua had to be 60 to 80 years old, probably closer to 80. Yehovah can use old men. They that wait upon the Lord, wait upon Yehovah, shall renew their strength. And that you may prolong your days in the land which Yehovah swore to give to your fathers, to them and their seed, a land flowing with milk and honey. Look at, there's the land and the seed, the land and the seed, the land and the seed. For Yehovah is going to fulfill his promise. It's going to happen again. What has been will be again. What has been done will be done again. There's nothing new under the sun. It's going to happen again. For the land which you go to possess is not like the land of Egypt, from which you have come, where you have sowed your seed and watered by foot as a vegetable garden. Oh my goodness, we do that over here. Water our gardens. Oh, we have to water our gardens. We haven't watered our gardens. It hasn't rained in 2 days. We should water our gardens. Don't have to do that in the land Yehovah is going to give us. Honey, isn't that great? Woohoo! Look, he goes on. But the land which you cross over to possess is a land of hills and valleys, which from the sky's rain drinks water. It says, drinks water from the rain of heaven. From the skies, rain drinks water. Here's somebody else. They said they translated it as sky. This is a contemporary or the complete Jewish Bible. But the land which you are crossing over to take possession is a land of hills and valleys, which soaks up water when rain falls from the sky. A land for which your Elohim cares. The eyes of Yehovah, your Elohim, are always upon it, from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. The Creator cares about his land, much like he did when the man, Adam, and his woman were still in the garden. They didn't have to worry about watering the garden, did they? But then they got kicked out, and we've been watering by foot ever since. What a pit. And it shall be that if thou earnestly obey my commandments, which I command thee today, to love Yehovah thy Elohim, to serve him with all thy levav, thy heart, and with all thy soul, thoughts, and emotions, then I will give you rain for your land in its season, the early rain and the latter rain, that you may gather in thy grain, thy new wine, thy oil, thy wine, thy oil, thy new grain. This is for each man, each Ezra man in Israel. They're not necessarily going to be cutting their crops themselves. They're going to have servants that are going to do that. We're talking about a good land. I will send grass in thy fields for thy livestock, that thou may eat and be filled. Take heed to yourselves. It's switching from thy to thee, yourselves now, lest your heart be deceived and you turn aside and serve other Elohim and worship them. Don't worship other Elohim. Keep Yehovah as your only Elohim. We keep his statutes, his judgments, his ordinances. Don't go to anyone else, lest Yehovah's anger be roused against you, and he shut up the skies so that there be no rain, and the land yield no produce, and you perish quickly from the good land which Yehovah is giving you. Don't worship other Elohim. It's going to be your demise. Remember, we're talking about these hard-hearted men from the last chapter. You saw what Yehovah did to these guys, Egypt, to Pharaoh, his land, his army, to you, to Dathan and Abiram. So change. Keep his commandments. Love him. Obey him. This is the text that we're reading from. In context is what I'm trying to say. Take heed to yourselves, lest your heart be deceived and you turn aside and serve other Elohim and worship them. Lest Jehovah's anger be aroused against you, and he shut up the sky so that there be no rain, and the land yield no produce, and you perish quickly from the good land which Yehovah is giving you. Therefore, you shall lay up these words of mine in your hearts and in your soul, the lavav and the nefesh, and bind them as a sign on your hand. Oh, there's the sign on your hand. We've seen that so many times. How does that work? Bind them as a sign on your hand. You shall lay up these words of mine in your heart and in your mind. How does having them in your heart and in your mind bind them on your hand? And they shall be as frontlets between your eyes. There's more context clues that we're talking about. You shall teach them to your sons, not children. We're talking about sons. Speaking of them when thou sit in thy house, and when thou walk by the way, when you lie down and when you rise up. These are the same wording that we saw in Deuteronomy 4 and in Deuteronomy 6. It's always about our sons, teaching them to our sons when we rise up, when we sit down, when we walk by the way. Thou shalt write them on the doorposts of thy house and on thy gates. Is he talking about literally writing them? I don't think so. I think he's talking about these are the things that are going to lead your houses, and these are the things that you're going to lead in your gates. All the people in your gates are going to be following these commandments because you're going to teach them to them. In fact, if they won't keep them, the sin is on you. This is why you can't keep a woman in your life if she won't follow you. I always talk about my hand can't do something that I don't want it to do. If it does, I can't keep it. Same with the servant. Same with the ger who dwells with you. They won't obey. They got to leave. Or the sin is on you. Oh, that's a much deeper understanding. We don't have time to go into that today, but I talk about that. You shall write them on the doorposts of thy house and on thy gates, that your days and the days of your sons may be multiplied in the land in which Yehovah swore to your fathers to give them. Who's the them that are getting it? The sons, you and their and thou and thy your and you and your sons. Like the days of the heavens above the earth, the skies above the earth. Yes, that's how long we're supposed to have these lands. They're not supposed to go to some other Elohim in this world. We aren't supposed to pay taxes for our own land. Something's wrong. Why do I have your sons? This is your seed. No, this is your sons and your fathers, your sons. No, it is your sons. That your days and the days of your sons may be multiplied in the land which Yehovah swore to your fathers to give them. If you, again, here's something contingent, for if you carefully keep all these commandments which I command you to do, to love Yehovah your Elohim, to walk in all his ways, and to hold fast to him. If you do that, then Yehovah will drive out all these nations from before you, and you will dispossess greater and mightier nations than yourself. Oh my goodness, I can't wait to see what happens with that. Every place in which the sole of your foot treads. Notice this is your foot, y'all's foot. I always put it in green, or try to put it in green so you can see it more clearly. Every place in which the sole of your foot treads, y'all's foot treads, shall be yours. Does this require a group of people to do this? I wonder. When he spoke to Abraham, though, it was spoken to just Abraham. Every place where thy foot goes shall be yours. From the wilderness of Lebanon, from the river Euphrates, even to the western sea shall be your territory. But of course, all the land is owned by someone else right now, isn't it? Yehovah can change that overnight. No man, no ish, shall be able to stand against you. Yehovah your Elohim will put the dread of you in the fear of you upon all the land where you tread, just as he said to you. I bet most are in dread of the other nations right now. Oh yeah, isn't that what we are concerned about? Of course, that's programmed into us, I think. Behold, I set before you today a blessing and a curse. The blessing, if you will obey the commandments of Yehovah your Elohim, which I command you today, and a curse, if you do not obey the commandments of Yehovah your Elohim, but turn aside from the way which he commanded you today to go after other Elohim which you have not known. How many times do we have to see this? Don't go after other lawmakers and judges. They may try to put the fear of dread in you. They may send you nasty letters. Ignore them. Make yourself not theirs. Make yourself so you're not dependent on them. There's safety in that. You might not experience it right now. Sometimes I feel a little bit of a pauper. But you know what? Carissa was pointing out just the other day, we are rich. We are rich in things that you can't measure wealth with right now. Because it's rich in a spiritual realm. And he must choose, and we must, so this choice is set before us every day. He says, I choose today. Yeah. I set before you today a blessing and a curse. This choice is set before us every day. And we must choose daily to live the way he created his men and their women to live. We got to make that a daily choice. Yehovah, your Elohim, to go after other Elohim. Same word. Talking about Yehovah, your Elohim, after other Elohim. Same word. One just has the ending for masculine male. Second person, your Elohim. Elohim we do not know. You know what? We were never intended to have other Elohim. We asked for an Elohim, didn't we? They'll fight for us. Back in, what was that? 1 Samuel 17. We asked for other Elohim. We were tired of Samuel's sons, I think. They weren't good for us. He warned us what would happen. But now, where have we gone? So we've gone so much worse because we knew the other Elohim, that when Yehovah was pointing Elohim, we knew him. But we don't know him these days. Anybody ever met Obama? This is an older note, obviously. Or their governor? How many masters can we serve anyway? I know Yehovah and I will serve him alone. That's me. I'm only going to serve one Elohim. They may not like it, but that's tough. 29. Now it shall be, when Yehovah your Elohim has brought thee into the land which thou go to possess, that thou shalt put the blessings on Mount Gerizim and the curse on Mount Ebal. Well, look at this. This is exactly what we did when we crossed over. We haven't done it yet. We will when we get to Joshua. It says Shechem is the valley between them next to the terebinth tree at Mamre. Let me just show you. He says Mount Gerizim and Mount Ebal. Let's go to the map. Here is the Jabbok River. This is how I always find Shechem and Mount Ebal and Mount Gerizim, because you go from Jabbok. This is where Jacob crossed over when his brother was coming up from the south to meet him, and he wrestled with a man. We talked about that when we went through it. The Jabbok River. Then he went to Sukkot, and then he went to Shechem. This is where Jacob stayed with his sons. This is where Dinah was taken. He was in the plain of Moreh, by the tree of Moreh, right here. Shechem is in between these two mountains, Mount Gerizim on the south and Mount Ebal on the north. These are the mountains that we're talking about. You could scream from one side of the mountains, very steep there. It must be a beautiful place, Shechem in the valley. I'd love to see it sometime. Here is him fulfilling that. Let's go to Joshua 8:30. We did exactly what he told us to do. Now Joshua built an altar to Yehovah, Elohim of Israel, in Mount Ebal. And Moses, the servant of Yehovah, also commanded Israel's seed, as it is written in the book of the Torah of Moses, an altar of whole stones over which no man had wielded an iron tool. And they offered on the burnt offerings, apparently there's 2 of them, to Yehovah, and a slaughtered shalamim. And there, in the presence of Israel's seed, he wrote on the stones a copy of Moses' Torah, which he had written. Then all Israel and their elders and the officers and the judges stood on either side of the ark, between the priests, the Levites who bore the ark of the covenant of Yehovah, the stranger, the ger, as well as he who was born among them. So we had both the strangers and the ger there. Half of them in front of Mount Gerizim and half of them in front of Ebal, as Moses, the servant of Yehovah, had commanded before, that they should bless the people of Israel. And afterwards he read all the words of the Torah, and the blessings and the cursings, according to all that is written in the book of the Torah. There was not a word of all that Moses had commanded which Joshua did not read before all Israel's assembly, with the women, the little ones, and the strangers who were living among them. Look at that. Isn't that interesting? When he's going to tell women, he tells you women. The women, you would never see this with the women, the little ones. You might see the little ones and the strangers, but you never see the women. This is very interesting that this happens. Only one time in Torah does he ever talk about the women, and that's Deuteronomy 32, 31. Let's go back. Gerizim and Ebal. This is mountains west of the Jordan and the tribe of Ephraim. And in the tribe of Ephraim are opposite or parallel to each other, extending from east to west, Mount Gerizim being on the south and Mount Ebal being on the north. They are separated by a beautiful valley in which Shechem or Neblos is situated, which is only about 200 paces in width. Both mountains are much alike in length, height, and figure, being about 1.5 leagues in the form of a semicircle, so steep on the side of Shechem that there is scarcely any shelving. Their altitude appears to Mr. Buckingham nearly equal, not exceeding 700 to 800 feet above the level of the valley, which is itself elevated. But though they resemble each other in these particulars, yet in another way they are very dissimilar. For says this other guy, though neither of the mountains has much to boast of as to its pleasantness, yet as one passes between them, Gerizim seems to discover a somewhat more verdant, fruitful aspect than Ebal. The reason of which may be because fronting towards the north is sheltered. Now that makes sense, from the heat of the sun by its own shade. Therefore, Ebal, looking southward and receiving the sun that comes directly upon it, must be rendered more scorched and unfruitful. Yeah, that makes sense. The sun is hitting that part of it. The part that's in the shadow most of the day is more verdant. Now, let me just redo this. I want you to see this one more time. I showed you where this is. Here's Mount Ebal. Here's Mount Gerizim and Shechem. The plain that is before it is where Moses stayed by the tree of Moreh. I think it was Moreh. We're going to see this in the next verse. Let's go there now. It says, are they not on the other side of the Jordan towards the setting sun? Yes, they are. They're on the west side in the land of the Canaanites who dwell in the plain opposite Gilgal. The plain opposite Gilgal, he's talking about the location of Mount Gerizim and Mount Ebal. But it says the plain opposite Gilgal, beside the terebinth trees of Moreh. The terebinth trees of Moreh? Gilgal? That's what I put. Gilgal. Here, look at this. Abraham passed through the land to the place of Shechem, as far as the terebinth tree at Moreh, and the Canaanites were there in the land. I put Gilgal. We are talking about the location of Mount Ebal and Mount Gerizim. Seems like it should be the plains opposite Shechem. Yeah, they got the wrong word here. They got the wrong town. And the Canaanites were in that land. Abraham, oh, that's the same verse. Let me just get rid of that one because I got it twice. Yeah, here we are. Abraham passed through the land of Shechem as far as the terebinth tree of Moreh. It's before Shechem. But look at where Gilgal is. Here's Gilgal. This is Shechem. So here's Shechem before the plains of Shechem. But if we look down here, here's Gilgal. This is where the Ark of the Covenant was for quite some time after we crossed over the Jordan. That's Gilgal. No, this is not Gilgal. So we got another mistake. Appears to me. My wife says I should be gentle. I'm just trying to show you where things don't make sense. For you will cross over the Jordan and go in and possess the land which Yehovah your Elohim is giving you. And you shall possess it and dwell in it. And you shall be careful to observe all the statutes and judgments which I set before you today. Statutes and judgments, blessings and cursings. We've got to keep all his ways. Make ourselves wholly his. I've got 141. I'm going to stop here. What are we going to do next week? Oh, we're going to talk about where Yehovah places his name. Oh, this is a really interesting thing. Where does Yehovah have his name placed right now? Where is he going to have it placed in the future? Even a better question. We'll talk about that next week. All right. Well, hey, thank you for staying with me today. I sure appreciate you coming. Remember to like this video if you did, and subscribe to my video channel if you haven't yet. Hey, thanks a lot. Appreciate you. Love you tons. Bye now.